Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us on the VIP line is Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Big vote over the weekend. And I, as I said, we don't really have a dog in this fight. We just love to hear from both sides. And I, as a Republican, want to see Republicans win in November. That's my motivation. And so last weekend, there was a meeting that voted apparently Eli Bremer in as chairman of the Republican Party. Then he canceled the meeting. But the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, from what I understand, still today, because I asked Eli this question. I said, do you have the keys to the office? He said, no. So this is a contested chairmanship. But over the weekend, the existing chairman of the Colorado Republican Party had a vote, and he was retained as the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. He joins us now, Dave Williams. Dave, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
First off, I want to say congratulations, because even more important than any political discussion, you added to your family. That is wonderful. What number does this make for you?
Makes number 4.
Hey, you got it, Jeff and I.
You got him. All right.
Yeah.
And now it gets real crazy.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
That's
because
great.
Two of them are always going to conspire against you.
Yes.
Always.
And they team up.
Yes, they do.
There's teaming up that takes place.
Yeah,
Mom doing well?
Yeah. We had a good birth, no complications. Now we're just all trying to adjust to each other.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's the most important thing. Give us an update on what happened on Saturday. I know media wasn't allowed in there, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on. Just real quick, I agree with you, Jeff. I'd really much like to just 100% focus on the election, and that's what we hope to do moving forward. But with that said, Todd Watkins, Eli Bremer, these folks, they really wanted to have a removal vote. And for the past month and a half, 2 months, we told them, okay, fine, show up on August 31st and you'll get your vote. And we had the vote, and lo and behold, a majority of the party wanted to retain us, certainly in greater numbers than what they cooked up, last week at their fake meeting. I think what it shows, the results of Saturday's show, that they never had the votes to remove any of the officers, and if they continue playing this game, they're gonna harm the party and create more of a civil war and less focus on the election in about 60 days from now.
Right. It's 60 days out. We've often on this show put it in terms of the head coach. You're the head coach. You're into the playoffs. You're in the second round of the playoffs at this point. And there's an effort to remove you. I'll be honest. It seems to come down to a reading of the bylaws. And I know you have your attorney. Eli Bremer and his side has their attorney as well. Is the argument coming down to, with regards to removal of a chairman, and this is the legal argument, not necessarily whether or not you should be removed, but the legal argument that if they get enough people in a room to have a quorum, 2/3 of the people in that room can vote to remove the chairman versus 2/3 of the entire central committee must vote to remove the chairman. Is that the legal argument coming down to it?
Yeah, I think that's their legal argument, but if you just step back and think about it, it's not workable. One, that's never been the proper understanding or traditional understanding of the removal process. And number two, you can't just convene people in a made-up meeting and then vote and take action. I mean, think about what the implication of that would be, especially in the state legislature. The state legislature, for example, can only meet from January to about May. But if they meet without a special session called by the governor, they can't just happen upon each other and start transacting business. It's no different with our party. There was a properly noticed meeting for August 31st. And if you wanted to vote me out, that was the time to vote me out. But stepping back even further, no man, and this is a message for Eli Bremer, no man that earned maybe 100 votes, a little less than a quarter of the party, can actually inspire most of the party to follow him. This is a fool's errand for him to even attempt. And even if he were to somehow win legally, most of the party is not going to back him. And that was proven on Saturday. We need to stop with this nonsense. And if he really wants to help, then join with us. Stop trying to drain our resources so you can have a job. I mean, that's I think what it comes down to.
Now, who's going to decide this at the end of the day? I mean, it doesn't seem like Eli wants to stop, so he's going to keep plugging along. Is it a court or is it the RNC that will have to step in to make this decision?
I'm not entirely sure. This is uncharted territory. We want to focus on electing Donald Trump and our down ballot candidates, but we will defend the party and its interests and its decisions in court. And if we have to go to the RNC, we'll do that as well. But I think what's clear is that we had way more votes, showing that the party does not want this kind of split, does not want this kind of action taken. And I don't know how, when you look at their fake meeting and their numbers, you can compare them to the legitimate meeting and the greater numbers we had. We got to move on.
I'm going to ask that exact question to Eli Bremer. He's going to join us tomorrow during the 9 o'clock hour on the Jeff and Bill show. Dave, one of the critiques that Eli had, and I would love to hear this from you, because this gets to your point, we got to move forward. We got to win in November. He was making claims on social media that the GOP, the state party, had not spoken with Paul Lundeen to put together a strategy to win the state Senate, with Gabe Evans, with Jeff Hurd, with those that are running for Congress, that there was no strategy. There's no work being done. What's your response to that critique?
We have engaged all of the major players and all the candidates, and we've certainly given them invites to work with us in our ground game and our operations. Hope Scheppelman and other folks are leading those efforts, and we have money in the coffers for now to implement them. What I think is going on here there are a number of folks that are working in concert with people like Eli Bremer and Todd Watkins to ultimately wrestle control back to the party because they don't like the direction it's in. And that's okay, but not right now. If you want the party to go in a different direction, do it at the election in March of 2025. Don't do it where we're risking a civil war that will harm us and hurt our candidates before an election.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado GOP, joining Jeff and Bill live. I want to follow up on that statement because Eli Bremer, when he joined us on air, said that a number of the candidates, like Hurd and such, had not heard from the state party since their win through the primary. Are you saying that is incorrect? I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just wondering if that's incorrect.
No, okay. That's 100% incorrect and
that's
false.
Fair.
We have all the emails and communication threads. If they don't wish to work with us, that's fine. All we ask is that you don't help Eli Bremer harm the party because of maybe some personal animosity or anything like that.
I appreciate that. Now, this is a question I've been asking many people on both sides, and especially your supporters, and I feel it's only fair that I can ask it from you as well. I've been asking, given the endorsements in the primary, a number of them did not come to fruition. Is that a criticism of either the party's leadership and choices or your leadership and choices if you're not choosing the potential candidates that are then reflected by the voters in the primary? Your thoughts?
I think it's not as simple as that. What you saw in the primary was a reflection of just outside money coming in and helping to, influence the voters in a particular direction. And while the party's opinion is influential, sometimes you can't overcome millions of dollars either from Washington or from the moneyed interests up in Denver, and that was true across the board.
That's fair, but doesn't the Colorado GOP need to be able to overcome that kind of outside money even in the general? And the fact you couldn't do it now, is that an indictment?
No, I mean, I don't think it's an indictment on the party. I think it's just a reality that most people face, especially if you step back and take out the inter-party fighting between Republicans. I mean, Democrats are always going to have more money, and they're always going to be able to outspend Republicans, at least in this state. And so the question is, how do we reach voters and stay competitive given that cash disadvantage? And I think what you're seeing over the past 20 years is it's been kind of a tough road to hoe for Republicans, regardless of what faction you might find yourself in.
Talking with Dave Williams, I'm going to call him the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party over the keys issues.
I will too.
I'm sorry. Like if Eli Bremer doesn't have the keys to the office, I don't know how he can make the claim yet that he's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Maybe. And I think Eli would say, well, we're in the eviction process. We're trying to make that happen.
Let me say this. Eric Adlin, the guy who I squared off against for the chairmanship, got 170 votes of the Central Committee. That was more votes than what he cooked up to try and remove me from my position. If anyone has more of a claim over the Colorado Republican Party than Eli Bremer, it's Eric Adlin. But this showcases how absurd this all is. The guy thinks he can run the party with only less than a quarter of its members' support. That's why this is so dangerous. He keeps pushing forward on a personal vendetta, and it's not helping Trump or any of our candidates. It's got to stop.
Well, and I go back to, again, we're in a sports analogy. We're coming up on the major playoff games, that type of thing. Switching now, and Eli's made this argument, is necessary because we got to get the support behind Gabe Evans and we got to get the support behind Jeff Hurd. And it's that important to switch at this point. Dave, you're the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. What's your message to folks right now? We're 60 days out. Not only are you going to have state house, state senate, congressional races, I mean, really critical races for the future of this country. You're going to have ballot initiatives as well. One that's going to seek to constitutionalize abortion in this state, which will then allow them to move on to public funding and get away from any type of parental notification. Very serious issues for the voters of Colorado. How do you unify the Colorado Republican Party? Most importantly, how do you win this November?
Well, first off, what I'd tell to all the Republicans, regardless of what faction you may be a part of, is that we can't win without any one side. If you want to win these elections, if you want the nominees that the establishment backed with their outside money, then you're going to need our votes, and vice versa. If we want to defeat Democrats and the grassroots want to ensure that we have some sort of balance in the state, then you got to vote for the nominees. We got to work together, and if we don't, then we're going to lose. And broadly speaking, for the swing voters, how's it been working for you? We have Venezuelan gangs up in Aurora taking over apartments and increasing crime and increasing cost of living. What do you want to do? You want to keep the people in power that are making it worse, or do you want to try and get some balance back into the state? We need to focus on getting this right in the next 60 days, because if we don't, then we're not only in jeopardy of losing our state forever, but also our country. So let's put aside our differences and let's go ahead and win. And then next party election, if people want to go in a different direction, let's do that. But let's not cause a civil war that's going to ultimately harm our party for future generations.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show. I really appreciate your time today. We're going to hear from Eli Bremer tomorrow. Dave, would you sit down with Eli? Do you think this is something that could be hashed out? Do you think the factions within the Republican Party could work this out? Or is it too divided?
If Eli Bremer wants to actually conform to the bylaws and help us win elections in the next 60 days, sure. But I know Eli too much. He's a very prideful individual, and he's unwilling to work with any of us, and he's not going to admit that my numbers were better than his. So good luck convincing him of that.
Well, Dave Williams, thanks again, and congratulations on the latest addition to your family.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Man, it's a civil war, and it's a fight within the families. And so a lot of us that are probably just traditional Republicans that want to win in November are like,
yeah. And the thing is that while I have been critical of Dave based on the choices in the primary, I do think he makes a good point about the number of people that get together and can have a vote. Because if it is only 2/3 of those that are there, you understand the math problem based on shrinking the number of people you get there, because it makes it easier to get what you want with fewer number of votes. So he makes an excellent point about the idea that, well, if it's just a bunch of people get together and then say this meeting qualifies, we got a whole nother issue going forward, because you're going to be changing over things all the time if that's the bar. So again, this is probably going to be, adjudicated in court. That's unfortunate.
Jeff and Bill, weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on News Talk 710 KNUS.